everybody, and welcome to Morning Coffees with James. I'm James, and this is my morning coffee show, where I talk to you about pop culture and shit from the comfort of my bedroom. Today we are talking about Saints Row Reboot, or as some people like to call it, Saints Row 5, or Saints Woke, which it is. Which I'm so sad about this. But before I get into this, I want to talk about why I'm on a Dutch angle. Well, my tripod broke, so I gotta fix that, and now I gotta figure out what to do next. So, Saints Row the third, Saints Row the second, third, fourth, fifth, Saints Row the reboot. Turns out it's woke. Turns out when it came out, it's just an absolute dog shit game. But it looks like from what I've been seeing on both sides of the fence that it's a buggy, unfinished mess, and either it's woke nonsense, which honestly, I'm kind of divided because there's now this divide between people who just say no and just people who say yes about this game. Some people were like, oh, it's not bad, and some people are like, it's bad. And there's something I'm getting annoyed with a lot of games. I'm like, I was watching other people's reviews of this and stuff like that, people who were all mostly on the middle grounds of this, and I realize it's some people find it fun and some people find it to be absolute dog shit. And to me, I'm gonna be honest with you, I think one of the reasons why it's absolute dog shit is that fucking story, which is honestly, I have to agree with that. Millennials and Gen Xers being kind of, the lead in this, I kind of found it to be annoying. I kind of did. And again, I'm not one of these people who's, the old man McGee being like, you Gen Zers. It's like, no. I mean, here's my thing about this, and about this game in general. I want to play it. I still want to play it. Even though people are saying it's bad, don't buy it, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to be smart and wait for a price drop. Reason being, because I don't feel like spending $60 on a broken piece of shit. I mean, I already got Cyberpunk, but I got that for Christmas. And that was a buggy mess, but I have it for just historical sakes. But I did, luckily that Christmas I didn't get that game only. I did get Mafia Trilogy. I did get Ghost of Tsushima. I did get Doom Eternal, which I still gotta finish. That game is hard. That game is hard as shit, but it's awesome. I still like it. I'm trying to think what else. What games do I need to get? Looking a little two-faced here. Give me a second. There we go. That should balance out the 3-point lighting in here. I went to film school for this. But so I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for pain. But the reboot, I'm kind of border on this because right now I'm like, one end is telling me not to play and the other end is telling me do play. And I'm not talking about the reviews out there, which if you go out there, there's some of the most bipolar. Well, then again, most of the people out there are saying this game is shit. And I think this is another. I'm hoping that Nakey Jakey doesn't do another video, Volition's game design is outdated. I really think, and this is the issue I see here, and the excuses people make when making this game and putting woke shit into it. If the game will fail, people, the wokeness is just a shield for how shitty they made the game, in my mind. I'll say this, I'm kind of cautious about the woke nonsense in the game, but I'm also kind of wondering if it's not, because I played I did the boss creation, so it's a little bit of me is I like the boss creation. I think the customization of the boss is interesting, but very limited in how you do clothing and stuff like that. It still feels a little like Saints Row the Third, which for those Saints Row the Saints Row OGs out there, and I'm an OG too. I started from Saints Row 1, 2. I started with Saints Row 2. I think Saints Row 1, excuse me. I played Saints Row 2, and then my God, that is one of my favorite games of all time. Saints Row 3 was and in the words of Michael Rosen, it's a bit rich, but okay. And Saints Row 4 is the same way. My problem with Saints Row 3 is that that's when the series just took a fucking nosedive. That's when they were like, you could tell the influences were from outside sources to change this humor up instead of being a little bit balanced, which Saints Row 2 was. A lot of people, I was watching people's reviews of this and fans of the third one, and they were like, oh, the third one, they say the third one's balanced, but the second one is not, which is bullshit because I feel like the second one does have a little bit of that balance that is needed. Like, there's humor in it, but there's also some seriousness there. And you can say, oh, the juxtaposition and stuff like that. It's like, well, like most of those weird, wacky adventures you go on are nothing, have nothing to do with the story. And when the story beats demand that it be like serious, we take it with some seriousness. We do indulge in those serious moments and not really kind of, oh, we're gonna have a guy wiggling a dildo in somebody's face or some bullshit like that, but then again, then Saints Row 4 came out and all of a sudden the game, like, they picked a lane to get into, because I feel like Saints Row 3 tried to appease everyone, and then you get the Saints Row 4, which was, in my mind, a good, like, send-off note and a love letter to the rest of the series. And I know people out there, well, no. If you look at the story, they're kind of celebrating everything that came before and they've realized they fucked up. I feel like they realized they went too far, and a reboot was definitely in charge. I will say this though, I do feel like I don't think this is another issue too, because I'm like, look, I've seen people play this game and people, certain cutscenes and stuff like that. Yes, I did see the ending, but I'm not gonna spoil it, but I do think it's a little dumb. And I think one of the problems with most modern gaming is that the story is absolute dog shit. I think the problem with most game stories nowadays, they don't treat the audience with respect, and they go way too pretentious with their nonsense. That's how I feel about it. Like, Saints Row 4. Saints Row 2 should have been the pinnacle of, like, how you make this game. You know why Saints Row 2 is so good? Saints Row 2 is good because they made it for, like, okay, they got an audience making that first game, which had some really cool game mechanics and stuff like that, and all this stuff. Sure, was it pretty as Grand Theft Auto? No. But at least Saints Row did something different than GTA. At least it did. They took the concept of the gang territory from San Andreas and decided, let's make a game about this. But then they realized, and then the sequel came out, and then they asked the audience, hey, what do you want in this game? And people just gave them what they want. To be a woman, to have dual wield whenever you feel like it, to have other melee weapons, to have combat styles, to have new cars, motorcycles. They kept mentioning they listened to their audience, and that's why that game is so good, because they listened to their audience and gave them what they wanted. I honestly like it, and the game is in depth too. There's a big mall there, there's stores you can go into, there's places you can walk into, and like some of the places are just, you can go in, you can walk into a building and just kind of roam around exploring the open world. This felt like a lived-in world. Why people talk about, Stillwater as one of the best gaming environments in that series is the fact that it was a living, breathing city. And then you get to Steelport, and it's just kind of like generic GTA 3 city, and even Liberty City in GTA 3 and even 4 were pretty much lived in. You can feel like the environment of this place. But then again, it's like, I hear about the stories about, I forget the Spanish city it's called. It's like, I don't know, Los Pagos. I don't know. I do like the idea of the environment being Southwest America. That's actually not a bad idea. A lot of people don't do that. Like, you get Mafia, they do Chicago types, you do the New York, the New Orleans. But to do like that part of America, I'm like, fuck yeah. I always think the game should have been a supervillain simulator. And this is where this game's kind of bordering on, but the whole idea of being entrepreneurs, robbing people, is kind of stupid. Like, I get it, like, but that's why the game doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, So you're a gangster, you're robbing people, you're allowed to do these side activities, you know, robbing people, you know, guns, you know, assassinations, car thefts, you know, stealing from banks and stuff like that, and all this stuff, stealing from, but yet you can't pay your rent. Like, how much is rent in fucking that city? It's like, for a place like that, I don't like. You're making more bank than you were just working for like the PMC gang, or like, you know, the Los Pantras, you know, the mix between, you know, all the red gang in or pretty the mix between the Los Canarles, the Brotherhood, and the Luchadors, like all mix of them, like an all mix of that. Like, doesn't that feel like that? And then you got like the part, like the collective, I think they're called, or the mindset, whoever, like the party people, you know, the Instagram influencers, which I am. So, but then again, I like doing long form videos and stuff like that. So yeah, but no, I find it kind of amusing now, a little bit. Like, I don't mind the wacky gangs or some stuff like that, but I don't know. I'm just so torn about this fucking game now. Like, I'm gonna wait until the price drops, but I am gonna play it. Why? Because I'm out of grim curiosity. So it's gonna be one of those things where I'm gonna be like, okay, fine, I'm gonna play the game. I'm gonna just give my review of it and tell you what I think of it, and if the game is good or if the game is mediocre at best. Which honestly, it seems like that. It seems like level-headed people are kind of not like. You know, non-biased people are kind of like, it's average. Which, I'm gonna be honest with you, yeah, I don't mind. But then again, I'm so glad people are playing the original game and realizing it's like something I've noticed too about writing characters in video games. I don't give a shit about my characters relatable. I don't care if they do relatable things. Like, I'm so tired of video games needing every character to be relatable so the audience can, you know, join in on all the fun. The reason why we like watching Indiana Jones, I'm going to the back, Indiana Jones, James Bond, seeing Johnny Gat, Tommy Vercetti, Solid Snake. The reason why we love seeing Superman, Batman, the reason why we like seeing characters who are nothing like us is because they're interesting characters. We want to see them evolve. We want to see them save the day because it is a good fucking thing that they do. You know, and honestly, sometimes you find relatability amongst characters that you don't think you could relate to. Like, Superman's a great example. Yes, he has to walk the dog, he has to walk Crypto, but instead of walking him around the neighborhood, he walks him around the solar system. So it's like, he's still walking the dog at the end of the day. Or like when his family visits from the 23rd century, it's still relatives visiting him from the 23rd century. Or getting berated by Lois Lane because he didn't take the trash out, because he was too busy saving the earth. And still would take it, be like, oh, I'm sorry. But no, my final thoughts on this, yeah, I'm gonna go play Saints Row, Saints Row the 5th, because that's how I feel about this. But I'm gonna give you my opinion on it and tell you how I feel. And I know there's a lot of like those OGs out there, don't do, man. You gotta, no, I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna wait until the price drops, which won't be that long. So who knows? With that being said, take care, love you, bye-bye, and remember to stay awesome. Peace be with you.